Hey folks, welcome back to LeafGreen versus Blue. We're here in Rock Tunnel, but we're not gonna be here for long. This is an episode that I think demonstrates one of the weaknesses, maybe, of this style of editing, in that this battle here in Rock Tunnel is the battle in which Drew reaches level 26 in LeafGreen, and when he reaches level 26, he evolves into a Hypno and all of his stats go up, and it's cool and wonderful for everyone. But he doesn't evolve into Hypno in Blue in Rock Tunnel. He evolves on a different route a little bit later in the episode. So chronologically, it all makes sense, but in terms of showing like events right next to each other, it doesn't quite flow as naturally as I would like it to. But I am a stickler for chronology, and I think this does slightly indicate maybe a little bit a difference between the two versions, although, you know, it's probably just what I happen to choose to use at any given time. It's not a big difference. Anyway, the main thrust of this episode here is another rival battle here in Pokémon Tower. And this, I don't know, usually I don't quite sequence break because I'm not breaking anything, but this is a battle that I usually save until later, until I've done all the stuff at Celadon, so I tend to be over-leveled and don't really have much trouble with this fight. Pidgeotto, only addition from the previous match is Whirlwind. It has Whirlwind in both versions now, and that can force you to switch to a random other team member. It's usually not very, threatening, because it doesn't cause any damage. But it is annoying. It might get you to switch out of a Pokemon that's going to deal more damage, and then you try to switch back in, and he'll just keep using it. It's annoying. It's not threatening. That would also be a good time to point out, he no longer has Eradicate on his team. Fan theory is that Eradicate died, and that's why the rival is at the tower. Honestly, probably he's just not using it anymore because Eradicate has outstayed its welcome. Next up is Gyarados, and as you saw there, Gyarados in 3rd Gen has an ability called Intimidate, and that lowers your physical attack when Gyarados enters the arena. So I like having Bulbasaur out there as kind of death fodder to absorb that Intimidate, and the Pokemon I actually want to use won't be harmed. Gyarados is a new addition to his team. It's the evolution of Magikarp. You probably know that. It's a Gyarados. It's actually quite threatening considering that it's newly evolved. In LeafGreen, it has Thrash, Tackle, and Bite, and Thrash is something that you want to look out for. It is a 90 base power normal move. It got boosted to 120 later in a later generation. Once he starts using it, he will continue to use it for 2 to 3 turns before becoming confused. It causes a lot of damage because Gyarados has a very high physical attack stat. You know how high? 125 base attack. That is absurd. Blue, he's actually quite threatening too. He has things like Dragon Rage and Hydro Pump, and 100 base special. It's going to cause a lot of damage. Don't underestimate it just because I one-shotted it with a Pikachu. All right, just don't. It will kill your family. It has decent defenses too. Next up, another new addition is Execute. I can't trash talk it too much because I did use one in Heart Gold versus Crystal. It has on its moveset Barrage, Hypnosis, and in LeafGreen only, Leech Seed. Barrage is a mediocre normal type move that's basically Fury Attack. Hypnosis is a sleep-inducing move that doesn't have very good accuracy. And Leech Seed is Leech Seed. It slightly saps some health from your Pokemon to heal Execute. Defense and HP are Execute's best stats, so you ought to use special moves against it in LeafGreen. In Red and Blue, its special stat is 60, It's higher than its special defense is in Leaf Green, but it's still lower than its physical defense, so it's still the best way to go about it. Next up is Kadabra. It's the same story as Kadabra from the last fight. 2 fights? However many fights, I don't remember. Got Teleport, Confusion, Disable, and in Leaf Green it has Kinesis. Don't get complacent just because you've met it before, but it's nothing you haven't seen before. So, Dark-type moves. You won't have any Ghost-type yet, because the Ghost-types are on the next floor up, but once you get through this fight, you'll be able to catch a Ghastly or a Haunter or something, and that will give you a Stab Ghost move to use against him eventually. Or just use Drew, you know, someone with high special defense, and absorb his hits a little bit. And last but not least, of course, is Charmeleon, his starter. And in both versions, Charmeleon now has Rage, which isn't a very good move. It's a normal type move that raises its attack every time the user gets hit. In Gen 1, the user is locked in to using Rage turn after turn after turn until it faints. And even if it gets put to sleep, actually, it will continue to rage afterwards. It's... I mean, it's not. It doesn't have any super effective, you know, powers, because it's a normal type move. It starts pretty weak. It can get out of control, especially in first gen when someone's locked in, but it's also just super duper annoying when you're trying to use it in first gen because you're locked in. It's like Thrash, but not as good. Fire Red and Leaf Green, he lost Metal Claw for Rage, so you can now bring your Rock types back in, especially if you caught a Rock type in Rock Tunnel. Overall, I'd say Gyarados and Kadabra are the most threatening members of his team, so be on the lookout. And yeah, he talks about rare Pokemon in the tower. Smell you later. Anyway, now back to the kind of confusing chronology. It's not that confusing, but it's still a little bit disjointed. So now we've got one other evolution that is happening here in Leaf Green. We had Drew evolving into Hypno earlier, and now we have Katrina evolving into Persian. Persian is pretty cool. It's one of those really simple designs that I think still really works. It's got just enough interesting about it to make it look cool. It's got a little red thing on its head. Before it was cool, Litten. But it's understated. It's suave. I like it a lot. And it's not bad in terms of stats either. We have its speed going from, I believe, 90 base speed with Meowth up to 115 base speed with Persian. And that's pretty fast. It's not, like, among the very fastest Pokemon, but 115 is nothing to sneeze at. And especially combined with the weird way that critical hits work in Generation 1, it can do a lot of damage to something like Slash. Now then, switching over to Blue, we have those two evolutions that we've seen in earlier parts of the episode done in Blue. Conveniently in the same order, too. We start off with Drew, who is now catching up to his Leaf Green counterpart. And just to explain a little about Hypno's stat boosts, I believe Drowsy, gosh, is it the same numerical difference? He had 90 base special defense in 3rd gen, and then when evolving into Hypno, that goes up to 115. So it becomes a pretty darn decent special defense-based tank. His other stats don't quite really get remarkable. Most of them are in the 70s, HP's up at 85, but that special defense is where it's at. And then, finally, Katrina over here in blue. And it's done via a mirror match. The very last mirror match that Katrina could do as a Meowth. So, nice timing there. Now, as I said, the awesome speed that Persian has makes it very ripe for criticals in first gen. We'll see how much we actually get to use that. Slash comes a bit late. And that's our episode. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.